Ladies and gentlemen, have you ever sat in a room waiting for someone to tell you what to do next, waiting for an opportunity to appear, or waiting for life to magically hand you success? Most people spend their entire lives in this waiting room, hoping that someone, a mentor, a boss, a parent, or even luck, will step in and save them. But the truth is, the moment you stop waiting, the moment you take complete ownership of your life, is the moment real power begins. Imagine a ship drifting in the middle of the ocean, tossing with the waves, relying on a distant lighthouse to guide it. If the captain waits, the storm will take it wherever it wants. But the moment the captain grabs the wheel and charts a course, the ship starts moving in the direction it was meant to go. Life works the same way. No one is obligated to save you. And that's not a limitation, that is the ultimate freedom. The beauty of this truth is simple. When you realize nobody is coming, you stop blaming, stop waiting, and start building. You realize that your success, happiness, and security are in your hands alone. Every decision, every small habit, every choice to act or not act compounds into your future. And when you finally understand that power is yours, nothing can stop you, not fear, not failure, not the people who doubted you. In this speech, we're going to explore 6 key principles that will transform the way you see responsibility, action, and freedom. By the end, you'll understand why being on your own isn't a weakness, but a strength. You'll see how to stop waiting, start leading, and build the internal authority to steer your life toward the outcomes you deserve. If you're tired of excuses and ready to claim your life, then stay with me. Every word you hear today is designed to wake up the leader inside you, to help you embrace the ultimate truth: nobody is coming to save you. And that is exactly what gives you your power. Radical ownership is one of the most powerful principles that separates those who succeed from those who spend their lives waiting for someone else to save them. Too many people go through life thinking that success, happiness, or security is something that will appear from the outside, that a mentor will guide them perfectly, that a company will recognize them automatically, that life will work itself out. But this mindset is a trap. The moment you stop blaming external circumstances and start saying, "This is my responsibility," everything changes. Take a moment and think about this. How often have you caught yourself saying, "I can't because of, if only they would," or "life isn't fair"? Every one of these phrases shifts responsibility away from you and onto someone else or some invisible force. It feels comfortable for a while because blaming is easier than acting. But comfort is deceptive. Comfort keeps you small. Comfort keeps you waiting. And while you wait, life doesn't pause, it moves forward, often without you. Radical ownership means acknowledging that you are the captain of your life. It doesn't mean the path will be easy or that failure won't happen. In fact, it usually means embracing challenges that feel uncomfortable, because those challenges are the very things that build character, resilience, and long-term results. When you take full responsibility, fear changes its role in your life. Fear no longer paralyzes you. It becomes a signal, a guide pointing toward the areas where growth is required. Consider the story of a young entrepreneur who started a small business with almost no capital, no mentorship, and countless naysayers around them. Many would have given up at the first sign of difficulty: a client who canceled a contract, a supplier who raised prices, or a failed product launch. But instead of looking outward for solutions, this person looked inward. They asked themselves, "What can I do differently? What actions can I take today to improve the situation?" Every time they encountered a setback, they didn't blame the economy, the competition, or their employees. They asked, "How can I take ownership here?" Within a few years, their business not only survived, but thrived. The lesson is clear. External circumstances rarely control your destiny. Your response to them does. Radical ownership is also about small, consistent habits. It's easy to think, "I'll take responsibility" when the big opportunity arrives, but real transformation happens in the daily actions you take. Waking up early, committing to learn something new, delivering work without excuses, improving a skill every day. These are all acts of ownership. Each small action compounds, building an internal authority and self-trust that no one else can provide. Another example comes from personal relationships. Many people expect others to treat them a certain way, and when they don't, resentment grows. Radical ownership flips this script. You focus on what you can contribute, how you can communicate better, and how you can manage your own emotions. Suddenly, your happiness is no longer dependent on someone else's actions. You stop waiting for apologies, recognition, or fairness. Instead, you act from your own integrity. Even in careers, radical ownership is transformative. If your performance is slipping, waiting for a manager to notice, your potential is futile. Ownership means proactively learning new skills, taking initiative on projects, and finding solutions before problems become crises. Employers don't promote those who wait, they promote those who lead, regardless of title. The same principle applies to life as a whole. Success favors the person who refuses to wait for others to dictate the pace. The power of radical ownership is liberating. At first, it feels heavy because suddenly you realize that no one is coming to rescue you. But with that realization comes freedom. No longer are you constrained by external approval, validation, or luck. Your future is determined by your actions, your decisions, and your mindset. You become unstoppable because the limits are no longer external. They are now something you can overcome through deliberate action. To practice radical ownership, start with 3 daily questions. What did I control today, and what actions did I take to improve it? Where did I blame circumstances instead of acting, and how can I correct that tomorrow? What one small responsibility can I claim today that will build my future? Answering these questions each day trains your mind to see opportunity in every challenge, responsibility in every situation, and freedom in every choice. The essence of this keynote is simple. When you stop waiting for someone else to fix your life, you unlock the only power that truly matters, your own ability to shape your destiny. Radical ownership changes everything because when you embrace it, you stop being a passenger in life and start being the pilot. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most powerful shifts you can make in your life is learning to recognize when you're thinking like a victim and then choosing to think like a leader instead. The victim mindset is subtle. It whispers to you quietly, life isn't fair, I'm unlucky. And at first, it can even feel justified. After all, life does throw challenges at us. People get passed over for opportunities. Projects fail, relationships break. But here's the truth: success is not determined by circumstances, it is determined by your response to them. Let me give you a real-world example. Imagine a young professional in a corporate office. She notices that her peers are getting promoted faster than she is. She feels frustrated, overlooked, and powerless. She could spend her energy complaining to colleagues, blaming her manager, or feeling sorry for herself. That is the victim mindset. It focuses on what is outside of your control and assumes that someone else is responsible for your success. Now, consider a different approach. A leader mindset recognizes that while circumstances may not be perfect, there is always something within your control. This young professional could say, what skills can I improve? How can I add more value? How can I stand out? Instead of waiting for the system to reward her, she actively works to create opportunities. She takes on challenging projects, asks for feedback, and learns from mistakes. Over time, she is no longer a passive participant. She becomes the driver of her career. The same environment produced 2 completely different outcomes, one person frustrated and stuck, the other empowered and growing. The victim mindset is dangerous because it is invisible at first. You don't notice it controlling your thinking until months or even years have passed. It shows up as small excuses. I don't have the time, I'm too tired, or it's too late, and these excuses compound. Each time you choose the easy reactive path, you train your brain to expect failure, disappointment, and delay. In contrast, the leader mindset trains you to respond proactively. Leaders ask questions like, what can I control right now? What steps will move me forward? What lesson can I learn here? Every challenge becomes an opportunity to grow. Every setback becomes a classroom. The key difference is perspective. Victims see walls, leaders see doors. Let's take another example, athletics. 2 runners are training for a marathon. Both experience an injury midway through their preparation. One runner thinks, this is unfair, I've trained so hard and now I'm ruined. They quit, believing the situation is beyond their control. The other runner thinks, how can I adapt? Can I cross-train? Can I recover and adjust my schedule? They modify their training, recover safely, and still complete the marathon. The situation was identical. The difference was mindset. Victim thinking also manifests in relationships, finances, and personal development. Someone might complain that the world owes them recognition, money, or love, but the leader mindset asks, how do I earn it? Leaders focus on what they can do today, not what they feel entitled tomorrow. Leaders take responsibility even when it is uncomfortable because they understand that freedom comes with accountability. Another practical example is entrepreneurship. Many aspiring business owners fail because they constantly blame external circumstances, market conditions, competition, or funding challenges. Those with a victim mindset see obstacles as dead ends. Leaders, however, see problems as puzzles to solve. They pivot, innovate, and use setbacks as learning opportunities. Over time, the leaders survive and thrive while victims stagnate. The good news is that mindset is not fixed. You can train yourself to think like a leader. Start with small decisions every day. Take ownership of your schedule. Respond to challenges instead of complaining and ask, what can I do right now to create progress? Over time, this practice rewires your brain to focus on solutions, not excuses. Ladies and gentlemen, the moment you embrace a leader mindset is the moment you stop waiting for life to give you a break and start creating your own opportunities. You will no longer be at the mercy of circumstances, other people, or luck. You will begin to see life through a lens of possibility, responsibility, and control. Remember this: victims react, leaders act. Victims complain, leaders create. Victims wait, leaders move. The choice is yours. Which one will you be? Ladies and gentlemen, one of the most overlooked powers in life is internal authority, the ability to trust your own decisions, stand by your choices, and act with confidence even when the world doesn't guide or approve you. Too many people live their entire lives waiting for permission from bosses, teachers, family, friends, or circumstances. But here's the truth: the moment you realize that no one else holds the key to your life, you unlock a power that is far more influential than luck, talent, or connections. Internal authority is not about arrogance or controlling others. It's about mastering your own life first. It's the quiet voice inside that says, I am responsible for my actions, and I will take control of my outcomes. People with strong internal authority don't panic when advice isn't available or when others are skeptical. They make informed decisions, trust their judgment, and act decisively. Let me share a real-world example. Imagine a young professional named Sarah who is starting her first company. She doesn't have investors, mentors, or a network of advisors. Many would feel paralyzed in this situation, waiting for guidance, fearing mistakes. But Sarah decided to act anyway. She researched her market, tested her product, and launched her business based on her own decisions. She didn't wait for someone to tell her it was okay. Within a year, she was not only running a profitable business, but also gaining the confidence that comes from trusting her own authority. Sarah's story shows that when you build internal authority, the absence of guidance stops being a weakness and becomes a strength. Internal authority is also about taking responsibility for your mistakes. A person with authority doesn't blame external forces when things go wrong. Instead, they ask, what did I do that created this result? What can I do differently next time? This mindset not only accelerates learning, but also creates resilience. Leaders in every field, business, sports, arts, and science, have faced countless failures. The difference is that they analyze, adapt, and act, while those without internal authority collapse under the weight of criticism or uncertainty. Consider athletes for a moment. A top tennis player cannot wait for the umpire, coach, or fans to decide if they will win. Each point requires focus, discipline, and decision-making under pressure. Every swing, every step, every strategy comes from internal authority. Similarly, in life, your results are determined by the quality of your decisions and your willingness to act, not by external validation. Another aspect of internal authority is self-discipline. When you trust yourself to make the right choice, you are more likely to follow through on commitments, whether it's waking up early, exercising, learning a new skill, or managing your finances. Self-discipline is the muscle that supports internal authority. Without discipline, authority remains a concept. With it, authority becomes action. Let's also talk about career decisions. Many professionals wait for a manager to notice them, a promotion to appear, or a perfect project to land in their lap. Those who cultivate internal authority don't wait. They create opportunities themselves. They pitch new ideas, solve problems before they are asked, and position themselves as indispensable because they act, not because someone directs them. Internal authority allows you to take risks intelligently, make bold moves, and step into leadership before anyone else gives you permission. Even in personal relationships, internal authority plays a critical role. People with authority set healthy boundaries, communicate their needs clearly, and don't compromise their values for approval. They don't depend on others to validate their worth. This doesn't mean they are unkind or selfish. It means they act from a place of strength and integrity. The practice of building internal authority starts small but compounds over time. Begin with daily decisions, stick to your commitments, follow through on promises to yourself, and take ownership of your choices. When faced with uncertainty, pause, evaluate, and trust your judgment. Each successful action reinforces your confidence. Each mistake becomes a lesson rather than a setback. Over time, you stop doubting, you stop waiting, and you start leading your own life. Ladies and gentlemen, the essence of internal authority is this: the world will not hand you certainty, security, or permission, but that's a gift, because when no one else decides for you, you get to become the architect of your life. You develop courage, clarity, and confidence. You stop being reactive and start being proactive. You stop looking outward for validation and start looking inward for strength. Remember, the moment you trust yourself is the moment you gain power. Internal authority allows you to act decisively, respond intelligently, and build momentum in every area of your life. It is not an inherited trait. It is a skill you cultivate by taking responsibility, practicing discipline, and learning from every decision you make. When you build internal authority, you no longer wait for someone to save you, because you realize the most powerful person you need to rely on has always been inside you. Ladies and gentlemen, here's a truth that most people never fully grasp. Responsibility is not a burden, it is liberation. For many, the word responsibility triggers stress, guilt, or anxiety. We think it means more work, more pressure, more accountability. But the reality is quite the opposite. The moment you embrace responsibility for your life, you stop being a victim of circumstances and start becoming the creator of your own destiny. Think about it: when you refuse responsibility, you hand control of your life to external forces, your boss, the economy, your family, your government, or even random chance. And while waiting for someone else to fix your problems, life doesn't pause. Time moves on, opportunities pass, and frustration builds. But when you step up and say, I am accountable for this, everything changes. You are no longer subject to forces outside your control. You are empowered by the choices you make. Let me share a real-world example. Imagine a young professional struggling with their career. They complain that promotions aren't coming, that colleagues are favored, or that the market is unfair. This is victim thinking. Nothing changes because the focus is entirely on what is outside their control. Now imagine the same person shifts mindset. They take responsibility, they upskill, volunteer for challenging projects, network intentionally, and track their own progress. Suddenly, they stop waiting for luck and start creating results. Within months, their career trajectory changes, not because the world became fairer, but because they became more proactive. Responsibility is liberating because it allows you to act instead of react. When you blame external forces, you are trapped by their power. When you accept responsibility, you reclaim your power. It may feel uncomfortable at first. After all, taking responsibility forces you to confront mistakes, shortcomings, and failures, but this discomfort is the price of freedom. Freedom is never handed to the passive. It is earned by the willing. Let's take another example: financial responsibility. Many people dream of wealth but hope someone else will save them, perhaps through inheritance, a bonus, or luck. But the person who embraces responsibility invests, budgets, saves, and plans. They don't wait for circumstances to improve. They act within their sphere of control. That action compounds over time. Wealth is not a gift. It is a byproduct of taking ownership of your financial choices consistently. Responsibility also applies to health. You may feel at the mercy of genetics, work stress, or your environment. But accepting responsibility means choosing to exercise, eat well, rest, and monitor your habits. No one else can do it for you. The moment you own your choices, you regain control over your body, your energy, and your vitality. Relationships, too, illustrate this principle. Many people blame others when conflicts arise. They complain about partners, friends, or family members instead of asking, what role did I play? How can I improve communication or understanding? When you embrace responsibility for your part, conflicts become opportunities to grow stronger connections. Responsibility is not about taking all the blame. It's about taking ownership of what you can influence. Even in the face of failure, responsibility liberates. Think of someone who starts a business that fails. A victim mindset says, the market was unfair, the timing was wrong, I had bad luck. But a responsible mindset says, what can I learn? Where did I misstep? What will I do differently next time? Every mistake becomes a lesson. Every setback becomes a step forward. Responsibility converts adversity into progress. One of the most powerful aspects of responsibility is self-respect. When you claim ownership of your actions, you no longer feel helpless or resentful. You no longer wait for someone to intervene or rescue you. You trust yourself to navigate challenges, solve problems, and make decisions. Self-respect grows, and with it, confidence, the confidence that you can handle whatever life throws at you. So how do you practice embracing responsibility daily? Start with these 3 steps. Identify what is within your control. Stop wasting energy on what you cannot change and focus entirely on actions you can take. Take ownership of mistakes and successes alike. Celebrate progress and learn from setbacks without shifting blame. Act immediately. Responsibility is meaningless without action. Commit to making deliberate daily choices that align with your goals. Remember, this responsibility is not punishment, it is power. The more you take ownership of your life, your actions, your habits, your decisions, the freer you become. Waiting for someone else to fix things is imprisonment. Acting on your own authority is liberation. Ladies and gentlemen, freedom is the reward for responsibility. The more you claim your life as your own, the less you are at the mercy of external forces. Your future is no longer something that happens to you. It is something you create. And the remarkable thing is this: the moment you accept full responsibility, you gain more control than you ever thought possible. Ladies and gentlemen, one of the greatest illusions in life is the belief that waiting will somehow bring the results you desire. Many people wait for the perfect opportunity, the right moment, or for someone else to guide them. They wait for luck, for approval, or for life to give them a break. But here's the hard truth. Waiting achieves nothing. Action, even imperfect action, is what creates momentum and results. Think about it. How many people have spent years complaining about their circumstances without ever making a single change? They dream, plan, and wish, but their dreams never leave their notebooks. They wait for a signal, a push, or a rescue that never comes. Waiting is comfortable, yes, but comfort is deceptive. It seduces you into believing that time is on your side. And while you wait, life moves forward without you. Consider the example of an aspiring author. They wait for the perfect inspiration, the perfect writing space, or the perfect moment in their life to start their book. Months pass, maybe years. The manuscript remains unwritten. Now imagine a different approach. The same author sits down every morning and writes even one paragraph. They edit, revise, and improve as they go. Day by day, the manuscript grows. Momentum builds. Eventually, the book is finished, published, and shared with the world. The difference is not talent, luck, or perfection. It's consistent action over waiting. Action trumps waiting because it generates feedback. When you wait, you have no results, no data, and no direction. But when you act, you learn quickly what works, what doesn't, and what needs adjustment. A small step produces information that waiting can never provide. This is why successful people rarely wait. They experiment, fail fast, learn fast, and move forward. Let me give you another real-world example. Entrepreneurship. Many aspiring business owners get stuck in planning paralysis, spending months or years researching markets, analyzing competitors, or waiting for perfect funding. The reality is that no amount of planning will replace action. The first product launch, no matter how small or imperfect, is the real test. Through action, they gather customer feedback, improve the product. Waiting, in contrast, guarantees stagnation. Even in careers, action beats waiting every time. Consider someone seeking a promotion, waiting for recognition, hoping the boss notices their efforts, and expecting opportunities to come as passive. But taking action, volunteering for high-impact projects, improving skills, offering solutions, and demonstrating leadership produces tangible results. The person who acts creates visibility, earns trust, and opens doors. The person who waits only grows frustrated. Action also builds confidence. Many people hesitate because they fear failure. But action transforms fear into competence. Every small step you take proves to yourself that you can handle challenges. Each decision, each task completed, builds the inner authority and courage necessary for bigger risks. Waiting, on the other hand, reinforces fear and self-doubt. The longer you wait, the louder fear becomes. Even in personal growth, action is crucial. You might want to exercise, read, learn a language, or meditate, but wishing or planning without doing accomplishes nothing. One push-up, one page, 1 minute of focus is better than perfect intentions left unfulfilled. Over time, these small, deliberate actions compound into remarkable results. The principle of action over waiting also applies to mindset. Life will test you, challenge you, and present obstacles. Waiting for external solutions, someone else to motivate you, circumstances to improve, or problems to disappear leads to frustration. Acting, however, gives you agency. It transforms challenges into opportunities, obstacles into lessons, and fear into mastery. Here's a practical takeaway. Start today, no matter how small the step. Don't wait for clarity, inspiration, or perfect conditions. Decide on one action that moves you forward. Commit to it and repeat it consistently. Momentum is built from repeated action, and once momentum begins, it fuels confidence, courage, and results. Consider this: waiting is a silent thief. It robs time, energy, and potential. Action is a multiplier. It converts effort into growth, experience, and progress. Waiting is passive, reactive, and uncertain. Action is proactive, intentional, and powerful. Remember, the person who starts today, even imperfectly, is already ahead of the person waiting for a sign. The world rewards those who move, not those who sit. Every success story you've ever admired began with a single decision to act. The rest, experience, skill, recognition, follows naturally. Ladies and gentlemen, the key takeaway is simple: don't wait, move. Act. Start now. Even small steps forward will set your life in motion. Waiting is the enemy of progress. Action is the engine of success. If you embrace this principle, you will discover that your results grow exponentially, confidence rises, and opportunities appear that you never could have anticipated while sitting idle. Your future doesn't come to you. You create it through deliberate, consistent action. Ladies and gentlemen, the final and perhaps the most important truth I want to share with you today is this: your life is not something that happens to you. It is something you create. Many people spend their days waiting for luck, waiting for opportunity, waiting for someone else to fix their problems. They hope that circumstances will align perfectly or that someone will hand them success on a silver platter. But the truth is that nobody is coming to save you, and that is your greatest power. When you realize that you are fully responsible for your own results, something incredible happens. You stop feeling trapped by circumstances. You stop blaming others or wishing life were different. And in that moment, you step into a place of absolute freedom because your future is in your hands and no one else can control it. Consider the example of an entrepreneur who started a small business with almost no resources. No investors, no advisors, no mentor. Many people would have seen this as a hopeless situation, but this entrepreneur saw it as a chance. They created a plan, took action every single day, learned from mistakes, and adapted. Over time, their small business grew into a thriving company. The common thread in every success story like this is not luck. It is the recognition that power to act and create lies within you. The first step to creating your power is to stop waiting for permission. So many people live under invisible restrictions. I can't start my dream because I don't have experience. I can't speak up because I'm not ready. I can't invest in myself because it's risky. All of these are excuses. The truth is that the only permission you need is your own. The moment you take responsibility, the moment you decide to act, the world begins to respond to your initiative. Building your life through action also requires intentionality. You cannot simply drift and expect greatness to appear. Every decision, every habit, and every action you take either moves you toward your goals or away from them. Someone who takes control of their health, their finances, their learning, and their relationships is constantly compounding their power. Small choices repeated consistently become massive results over time. The person who invests a little daily in skills, relationships, and mindset will far outpace the one who waits for a big break. Another critical element of creating power is embracing challenges. Obstacles are not roadblocks. They are opportunities to strengthen your ability to act. Each problem you solve, each risk you take, and each uncomfortable situation you navigate builds your confidence and authority. Think about a musician learning a difficult instrument, a coder debugging a complex program, or an athlete training for a championship. Every setback is a lesson, every failure is an upgrade, and every effort compounds into mastery. Even in everyday life, creating your power is about choice. You choose your thoughts, your responses, your actions. You choose to prepare rather than panic, to learn rather than complain, and to act rather than wait. These choices accumulate. They create momentum that becomes unstoppable. Over time, your life no longer feels like a series of random events. You begin to see that you are shaping it intentionally. Consider another example, someone learning public speaking. At first, they feel nervous and doubt themselves. If they wait for confidence to magically appear, they will never speak. But if they choose to act, speak in small groups, record themselves, learn from feedback, and keep practicing, they gradually create power, the power to communicate, influence, and inspire. The same principle applies to leadership, entrepreneurship, health, and every other area of life. Action builds authority, action builds results. Action creates your life. Finally, creating your power requires ownership of identity. The person who achieves lasting success doesn't just act. They become the kind of person who naturally produces the results they desire. You don't attract what you want, you attract what you become. Discipline, courage, creativity, resilience, all these traits are cultivated through action. Every day you choose to act intentionally, you sculpt the person your future self needs you to be. Ladies and gentlemen, remember this: nobody is coming to save you. And that is exactly why you are free. Free to act, free to decide, free to create your destiny. When you stop waiting and start creating, life stops controlling you. You become the architect, the pilot, and the builder of your own story. So embrace this power today. Take responsibility for your choices, act with courage, and create your life intentionally. The world may not hand you opportunities, but when you generate your own power, opportunities appear because you are ready to claim them. Your future self is waiting, and the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the decision to start creating it today.